All right, good afternoon, Mr. Brockington. Is that you?
Yes, ma'am, that's me.
All right, would you introduce yourself to the pardon board? Tell us your name and your DOC number. What's your name?
My name is Steve
Yes.
Brockington. 10585.
All right, Mr. Brock. My name is Cheryl Renat, so I'm going to read some information into the record. I'm going to ask you to confirm that information. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Marabella, who's seated to my immediate right. Your case has been assigned to him, so he'll take the lead on the interview. We have some folks who have joined us today here in support. We have the Parole Project, Mr. Kerry Myers, Lazaro Seriala, your nephew, your daughter, Sally Watson, all of whom will be speaking in support. Here in opposition, representing the victim, we have Rachel Hunter, who will also be speaking. At the end of the interview, and after we hear from everybody that wants to speak today, we'll allow you to make a statement if you'd like to. Before you understand all that?
I'll say that again for me.
Sir?
One more time. Say it for me one more time.
One more time. I'm going to read some information into the record.
All right.
After we turn it over to Mr. Marabella, seated to my right, he's going to start the interview. We have some people here who want to speak in support of the Parole Project. We have your nephew, Lazaro, and your daughter, Sally, want to speak for you, and we'll do that at the appropriate time. We also have someone who wants to speak in opposition. That's Ms. Hunter. We'll hear from her. And at the end, you'll be allowed to make a statement if you want to before we go. You ready?
All right.
So, Steve Brockington, you're here seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced October 1982 to a life sentence in Evangeline Parish for a second-degree murder conviction. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Right? Would you answer Mr. Marabella's questions?
Good afternoon, Mr. Brockington. How are you, sir?
Doing look good.
Mr. Brockington, I'm just going to ask you a few questions, okay?
All
Are you 71 years old? Is that right?
72.
72. How long have you been in prison on these charges?
40 years.
Mr. Brockington, if you would, in your own words, tell me what happened. How is it that you shot Mr. Gallo back in 1987? Tell me what prompted all of that to happen.
Well, actually, it was the other girl was involved, Phyllis Frank.
Phyllis Frank. Oh, all right.
But she had some money of mine that my friend had got for me, but he didn't know me and her had broke up. All right. So I went to Joe's Happy Landing. That's where all this happened at. Joe Happy Landing is like a club. And when it went down like that, me and I wound up on the other side of the road, like where the cars be parked and stuff at. And she pushed me up off Mickey Gallo. Mickey Gallo was sneaking down on me with a buck knife. 8-inch buck knife. All right. If she don't push me up, I'll be where he at. And I told him 3 times to get back. And he didn't. But after the knife, I shot for the knife. All right. But in the process of them arresting me and the time to go to trial, all right, it's in their possession, but the knife come up lost. Not mine, not me doing, nothing to do it for me, but the people that had it, the investigators and officers and them, they had the knife. The knife will show my proof of being trying to self-defense.
So you went to trial, but you were found guilty of second-degree murder.
Right.
How many times did you shoot Mr. Gallo?
I didn't shoot him. I hit the knife I didn't shoot him 3 times.
You shot him 3 times.
I shot at the knife 3 times. And it ricocheted off the knife. The knife was so
So
much.
what you're saying is you shot at the knife, you hit the knife 3 times,
Right.
and those bullets ricocheted off and killed Mr. Gallo.
Off the, not, right, and hit him.
Well, let's talk about Joe's Happy Landing. What is that?
That's a club. That's a nightclub.
How long had you been there?
How long have I been there? That night?
How long had you been there the night this happened?
Well, not that long. I walked in, got me up here, walking out. As I walked out, my friend for play something, he was over there. So he had walked out. And I asked him, he said, man, I gave you money to fill his
All right.
front.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out, you were drinking a beer? Had you had anything else to drink tonight?
I had one beer that night, understand? And when I seen my friend coming out the club, so he stopped. And he said, I gave Phyllis Frank, $200.
Mr. Brockington, we covered your story about how you shot the man. My question now is about alcohol and drugs. Because in your statement, you said you don't do drugs, you don't drink alcohol. I'm trying to figure out how much beer you drank, when you drank it, when you were out. Okay, now you're in a bar, you bought a beer, and then all of a sudden, this happens.
I come out.
How often did you drink back then?
How often I drank? I didn't drink that much because I had to go to work.
Well, what do you call
I
not
didn't
much?
drink that much. I mean,
How about that bar or that club?
yeah, but that, one beer, they sell cans of beer. One
I
can
hear
of
you.
beer.
My question to you is, how often did you go to that club and drink beer?
Oh,
Or any
no,
other-
no, not that often. Not that often. Not that
When
often
you,
at all.
well, I'm trying to figure out if you've got any sort of a drug or alcohol problem, because you haven't taken any real substance abuse programs while you've been in prison. So tell me, when did you
I
start
got my
drinking?
certificate.
How old were
in.
you when you started drinking?
I got my certificate in what I took in.
I hear you. How old were you when you started drinking?
Oh, how old?
Yes.
Say it for me again.
How old were you when you started drinking? I'm 76 years old. I started drinking beer when I was 16 years old. When did you start drinking?
Probably 1 year more than you.
Okay, so, and how often did you drink?
I didn't drink that often. I had to come this way because I had to come to work. I had to come to work, go offshore. All right.
Now, tell me a little bit about the work you did. You were a deckhand, is that right?
So I started off with deckhand. I worked my way to the top.
Okay, and then you were
Drive supply boats.
operator?
So drive supply boats, supply the rigs.
Right, right.
Rigs. Right.
And that's what you were doing when this all happened?
Yeah, I was working with that out.
And you were what, 30 years old? How old were you when this happened?
Well, right now, I had to be 30, but it was like 32.
And how long had you been doing deckhand work and
I've been doing
supply boat work?
offshore,
Yeah.
12 and a half years.
So tell me what kind of work you're doing while you're in prison now.
Right now, to work for beautification.
Okay.
All right.
And you work in buildings here. We're in Baton Rouge here. You work at some of the state buildings here in Baton Rouge?
Right, what we did, we would go to Baton Rouge, beautification. And like around headquarters and all that, we plant stuff for them and everything. All of that.
Tell me what kind of programs that you've taken that have been helpful to you while you've been in prison.
Well, let me see. Thinking of a change. Trying to get away from what I am. But not all of that. I got the other one. Ain't no shame.
You get 100 hours of pre-release,
Right, $100 too. Yeah,
gauge your age, did that help you?
who? Yeah, anger
Gauge
management.
your age, anger management?
Right, exactly. That one there. $100.
Now, you've had 54 write-ups in over 40 years. Your last one was in 2016, a contraband. You remember that write-up? What was that about?
What kind of contraband?
I don't know, I'm asking you.
I don't know neither.
2016, you don't remember that, right?
Contraband, I don't know neither. First of all, they got contraband during this time, you know, telling they line up in after and they gonna stick you with that type of charge.
You don't remember what it was?
No, I don't do no contraband. Period.
What's your plan? Where you hope to go when you get out? Going back to Oklahoma? Is that what I understand?
That's what my, okay, go finish it, I'm gonna tell you. You was about to say something, I interrupted.
All right. If you were that successful and ultimately get out of prison, are you going to go back to Oklahoma and live with Sally Watson? Is that your plan currently?
Yes, sir, that's my daughter. That is my daughter who's been sticking with me for all this time I've been in jail. I've been in prison.
Now, you're classified as a first offender, but you had a couple of charges in Texas. Is that right? You had a carrying a weapon. You remember those charges back in Texas? Tell me about that.
Oh, that's just like, you have, what it was. It was, wasn't no shootout, it wasn't no danger. It was like, I had picked up a weapon, let me see. And they charged me $25 after I went to court that day. I used to have an unsealed weapon. I used to.
I see Mr. Kerry Myers here. Are you working with the parole project? Is that something you hope to do when you get out as well?
As well. Need it. All of them. But they gonna need it. I want my kids, grandkids, not to take the same step out of it.
I got you.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about Mr. Brockington?
So I can confirm his contraband report in 2016 was for smoking cigarettes on the rodeo ground. He was smoking.
Okay.
You remember that now, Mr. Brockington?
I thought you were talking about something else.
No, this is smoking.
Okay, it's Mr. Dupont. I think it was Dupont.
Furthermore. Second, he did complete Living in Balance 1 and 2 in 2021. And he did anger management in 2020.
Thank you very much, Warden. That's
You're
all.
welcome, sir.
All right, we'd like to hear from the parole project now, Mr. Myers.
Yes, good afternoon. Kerry Myers with Louisiana Parole Project. As you can see, Mr. Brockington has been in prison for 40 years. He got into a fight that went terribly wrong. You heard him explain what happened. He's during his time in Angola, the contraband write-up in 16 for smoking a cigarette in 2016 on the rodeo grounds. While it's certainly a violation, there's no question about that. This was at a time where cigarettes were being phased out and still kind of a problem. He's worked very hard during his time in Angola. I've actually known Mr. Brockington for years, lived in a dormitory with him. I've never seen him do anything untoward towards anyone. I know that he used to work in maintenance at any given time. And he used to, that he was highly valued when he worked in maintenance. You can see that Mr. Brockington has had a little bit, some health problems of recent. But he has a plan. He's ready to come to Parole Project. We are here to support him. He will have an out-of-state plan. Should he get a commutation signed and go to parole, we will have an ICOTS prepared for him to go out of state to his daughter. So after he finishes our program. So Mr. Brockington has our support. he's no threat to public safety. This is a man who still wants to work. This is a man who's ready to go to his daughter. He has completed the programming, 100 hours. He's got anger management. He's got living in balance. He's taken victim awareness. He's doesn't have any significant disciplinary issues except for the contraband cigarette in more than a dozen years. And so I would just ask this board to consider his age, his length of time served, his overall record, and his reentry plan, and grant him his clemency today.
Could we hear from Miss Sally Watson?
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Sally Watson, and can you guys hear me?
And
Okay, and I am the daughter of Mr. Brockington. And as a young child, I never understood what happened or why my father was gone and now in prison. But I knew he was still my father, the father that when he was home from his offshore job, that we went everywhere together. Every time he moved, I moved. But my favorite place to go with him was fishing because he loved the waters, even when he was not working. So my visits with my grandparents is how I was able to go and see him. I loved them. It was a special trip we took, and I did them. I loved them, every minute of it. And when I became an adult, I started making those trips on my own. Once I started my own family, I knew it was my job, and it was important for him to know his grandkids and for them to have a relationship with him. So we all enjoy the visits now. The only thing I will say is that it wasn't easy growing up without a father in the home, but that didn't stop him from being the supportive father that he is, because he wrote weekly and he called weekly, and he was able to help me through many things and challenges in my life. So my prayer has been then and now that he be released and be able to spend the rest of his life with his family. The grandkids, again, they love his visits, they love his company, and they always want to know, when is he getting out so they can spend their time with him. While incarcerated, he's lost a host of family members, from his mom, his dad, his sister, his grandson, which is my second child, nephew, mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law. And while locked up, he has acquired a woodworking, the skills hobby shop. And it supported him quite a bit while in there, because I was an ex-military spouse and I traveled everywhere, but always had boxes filled with his hobby shop work and sold them outside in order to support him while he's in there. I love my dad, always have. And I just ask that you would give him a second chance to live the rest of his life with us, his family. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
you, Mr. Lazaro Sariala.
Good afternoon. My name is Lazaro Sarah. I'm the nephew of the woman that my Uncle Steve was married to at the time. He's not my blood uncle, but he was chosen to be my godfather. I think that says a lot about his character. I was only a few months old at the time, and now I'm 41 years old. I'm also a U.S. Navy veteran, and I remember riding back and forth with Uncle Steve during my deployment in the Persian Gulf. He was my mentor, gave me courage and strength to get through those times of fear and uncertainty. By sharing his experience being on the water, working offshore and in the oil field. Since then, I've gotten out and made a couple of bad choices myself that caused me to make my life hard. Thankfully, I was given another opportunity, because now I'm a mental health peer specialist with the Department of Veterans Affairs. And I have my own nonprofit where I assist both veterans and civilians with reintegrating into their communities. Uncle Steve has a lot of family support, but it would be a great honor and privilege to assist him as well if you grant him clemency. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. We also we'll hear from the opposition now. Could we hear from Miss Rachel Hunter?
Yes, can you hear me?
Ma'am, we can.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Rachel Hunter. Of course, I'm the niece of Milton Gallo. And today, I'd like to say that on behalf of myself and my family, I want everyone to know that we shared a loving and close family bond with Milton. And although it's been 40 years since he's been taken from us at such a very young age, whew, I'm 55 years old now. Now I'm older than my uncle. And I always like to think of what it could have been like instead of what it is today. Excuse me. Just like the past 40 years, today is extremely difficult for my family and myself. Our wounds of grief are still fresh and unhealed. My Uncle Milton's memory lives on to this very day through each and every one of us, through shared memories of time well spent with family. He has missed so much of all of our lives, and we have missed all of his life. Myself or my family, we can't take him home or call him on the phone, share a meal, or make new memories with him. He was the youngest of 5. My mother was the eldest of all of them. It was difficult to see her go through that type of grief and pain until the day she passed. Also, my auntie, until she passed. He had a very special relationship with his sisters and his 2 brothers, as well as all family members. Today, the person that took Milton's life should not have the opportunity to live life freely because of a senseless choice to take another person's life. Not only was Milton's life cut short because of a choice someone made for whatever their reasons were, our lives were shortened too. Today, there's nothing that no one could say that would help my family or myself heal from a senseless act. My Uncle Milton, he will never be pardoned from his debt. We can't take him home. We can't make new memories. There's an empty seat at our table. Why should that person have an opportunity to sit at his family table? On behalf of the Gallo family, this is all I have to say today.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your participation in the process.
You're welcome.
Mr. Brockington, is there something you'd like to say to us at all before we vote? Anything you want to tell us?
I'm sorry that happened, but we'll all be with the family.
All right, well, thank you, sir. I think we are prepared to vote. We'll start with Marabella.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brockington, I appreciated your answering my questions as best you could. I think you were pretty straight with me. I'm not sure exactly what happened 40 plus years ago. I think maybe alcohol might have been a little more involved in what you're willing to concede, but that's neither here nor there. I do want to say to Ms. Hunter, I appreciate the courage of your being here today in telling us about your loved one. My sympathy goes with you. We are here today to make a determination on who Mr. Brockington is today and what he's accomplished while he's been in prison. Mr. Brockington is 72 years old and spent over 40 years in prison. He's taken some very good programs while he's been in prison. He's a low risk. He's He's got a good transition plan. My vote today would be to recommend to the governor that we commute his sentence to 99 years, make him immediately parole eligible. Madam Chairman, that would be.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman.
I concur with Mr. Marabella. He served almost 40 years, a little over 40 years, as a matter of fact. He had a pretty good institutional record. And with the amount of time he served, I also vote to grant and commute 9 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Thank you. Mrs. Jackson.
Mr. Brockington, I concur with my colleagues. My vote is to recommend commutation in 99 years of parole eligibility.
Mr. Roche.
Madam Chairman, based upon the length of incarceration, the age of the offender, good time programs and a low risk assessment score, my vote is to recommend to the governor the commutation of sentence 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. And Mr. Brockington, I do agree with my colleagues. My vote is the same. So, sir, on your behalf, we'll make a recommendation to the governor that your sentence be commuted to 99 years and that you be immediately parole eligible. Good luck to you, sir.
Okay, let's unpack that. So some of us might be like, what? How did he just get out? And I think really it just does come down to, it's clear that he's not a man of words. We have seen different types of and levels of not taking culpability, is that the word? Certainly he didn't. I don't feel like he owned it. I don't think he was being honest about the drinking. The whole idea that he said he shot at the knife and it ricocheted, it's just, it's like he's still making kind of excuses. And then even the final words that he said, I'm sorry that it happened, not I'm sorry that I killed a man. But like the board said, this happened in 1987. And he's been locked up for 40 years. He's 72 years old. And because of his age and because of how long it's been, they're gonna let him out. His daughter seems like she's done great with herself, and then his non-biological nephew seems like a great guy. I'm glad to see that. It pains me to hear the victim's I didn't catch how she's related. Is it his mother? I don't think so, but she's still dealing with it, and it's sad that she's gonna have to. I always feel bad for the victim. It's like the victim's alone in this situation. There's no prosecutor that's taking her back. There's no one. It's almost like being getting victimized again. It's like everyone against you. It's got to be a terrible feeling. But so Carrie Myers being involved is definitely the wild card that usually pushes you through in a questionable case. It's interesting to hear Carrie talk about being in the same dormitory as him. You guys should check it out, or I'll share the page. So this is representjustice.org. And you can see the whole story about Carrie. He was accused of a crime, which I don't know if he ever. So in 1990, Carrie was convicted at a trial riddled with misconduct and discredited expert testimony and sentenced to life without parole for second-degree murder. Carrie, the victim's family, and the investigating detective
among others, steadfastly maintained his innocence. After fighting for exoneration for 27 years, Kerry was unanimously recommended for commutation and immediately released by the Louisiana Board of Pardons and Parole in 2013. Then Governor Bobby left office in January 2016 without taking action on his and dozens of other recommendations. Oh, I didn't know this. You see, like what just happened now was that he was recommended for commutation. So still they need to take the documents to the governor. The governor needs to sign it. And then they get another parole hearing where they're paroled. And I didn't know this. Oh man. So the governor, he left office in 2016. So he had to wait 3 years without the governor signing it. And then he left office without taking it. So, and dozens of recommendations. 10 months later, on October 15th, Kerry received a second unanimous recommendation. And on December 21st, 2016, it was signed by Governor John Bell Edwards, and he was freed. Shame on you, Bobby Jindal, whoever you are. There are people in office that are so full of themselves, so full of hubris, so disgusting. Karma is real. Don't worry, Bobby. Karma is real. And while incarcerated, Kerry edited the national award-winning Angolite magazine for its coverage of death penalty, children sentenced to life without parole, and criminal justice reform issue. He was recognized with the 2007 Thurgood Marshall, blah, 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 blah. Not saying blah, blah, like it's not cool. That's what I do when I skip things. Kerry also contributed author. And there's a video here. I want to play it, but I'm like paranoid about what I can get striked on from YouTube. And so I'll drop the link in this upload. So if you want to check out the little video there. Pretty amazing. I love that he has now devoted his life to helping others. And if you've wondered, that's who Kerry Myers is. And so when Kerry does go and take someone's back, there was a case we recently did where I couldn't believe Kerry was, but Kerry didn't speak. That was the interesting thing. It was like the Plural Project backed the guy, but Kerry did not speak. But anyways, love to hear your thoughts on this. Again, when it comes down to certain things like were you punished, and but if the other guy had a knife, is it a fight? You know, he served a long time. He has a good re-entry plan and all that stuff. He's just not really good with words. And I don't know how much we can hold that against him. But love to hear your thoughts on this. And with that, I'll let you go.